All right, you guys, this is Courtney from Willow's Bloom, and I am here with Maya. Are you Maya Nicole Healing, or like what's your Instagram handle right now?
My Instagram is I'm Maya Nicole.
Okay. But yeah, your email is mayanicolehealing@gmail.com, right? Okay. Yeah, so she's amazing. You guys are gonna soon see how amazing she is. And I actually, why don't you just introduce yourself and then I'll talk about what we're gonna discuss today.
Yeah, I would love to. Hi, everyone. I'm Maya, and I do emotional intelligence coaching. So, my focus in my coaching is all on shadow work and inner child work and somatic work and creating self awareness and embodying our consciousness. So, I do a lot of private sessions with that. I do some group work and I love it. And Courtney and I have kind of worked together for the past couple of years, combining astrology and this approach to healing emotions. And it's really beautiful.
Yes, you guys. And if you're not familiar with somatic healing, it's really tapping in and like utilizing the body as a way to move emotions, which I think is going to be so perfect for today's topic. Um, so we're basically going to do this series where we're breaking down all of the different moon signs. I'm going to kind of talk about what the moon represents, how that talk, basically what it says about you as a person, and then maybe kind of what struggles you have to learn in this lifetime around that moon. And then Maya is going to come in with her tools and her expertise to kind of give you guys some feedback on how to move through some of those difficulties. So yeah, so thanks so much for coming on, Maya. I'm super excited. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about an Aries moon. And if you know anything about the moon in astrology, you know that it represents the mother in the birth chart. So it's going to say a lot about your mother's energy. And it's also going to talk about your emotional nature, which means who you are when you're home alone by yourself or with really close loved ones, who you are when you are experiencing difficulties, like how you emotionally respond to things, how emotionally resilient you are, and how you process your emotions, how you approach relationships and communicate about how you feel. So having an Aries moon can mean that your mother was very independent and was likely somebody who had this kind of force of nature about her, a strong will, and wasn't necessarily afraid to be honest or be blunt and to take action and go after the things that she wanted. So basically a mom with a really strong presence. This could be seen as like a single parent mother, kind of this like warrior mother who does it all, who has this kind of energy and stamina to tackle everything that she needs to. And Aries is a very kind of pioneering energy. So your mom could be doing stuff that's really different than other parents for her time, or she could just kind of navigate life with this strong leadership ability that maybe not all the other moms have. So it's a lot of like masculine energy in the mother. So it's very interesting because normally when we think about mother, we think of this like really soft and nurturing part of yourself. And it's not that Aries can't embody that, but it tends to gravitate towards the masculine. And so you naturally will kind of have this within you as well when you have an Aries moon. So this can create a little bit of tension between the parent and the child, because sometimes the parent will have a strong will and then you will also have a strong will, and that can kind of create a butting of heads where two people want different things but have a lot of passion about what they think and what they believe and what they want, and so that can create a little bit of tension. And for you, Aries is a cardinal sign, so you're going to be naturally driven towards taking action. And when this talks about our emotional nature, it's almost like you want to do something about the emotions that you feel. So it's not like you can just sit and feel them. You have to process them through getting rid of them in a way, like putting them somewhere, doing something about them. And what's really common for Aries moon people is to put this into vigorous exercise or some kind of thing that involves some level of intensity with the physical body to move through some of these emotions. So I think having daily exercise or having a more intense kind of exercise in your week is one of the most important things for an Aries moon. And Maya, I'd love to know, I know that there can be some challenges sometimes in having this feeling of wanting to do something about the emotions, wanting to create something or resolve them, and kind of rush through that process of no longer feeling it and having some kind of solution. So how do you see this come up for people? Like, how would you help people work through that desire, to just like resolve things immediately?
Yeah. So before I go into that, which is such a good question, I think it's really important to start with this. It sounds like what you're saying is that um, someone who has an Aries moon probably had a mother who was, I mean, you did say this, who was in very masculine energy. And so what would have been missing most likely is that feeling of safety in the nurture, that feeling of safety in being these really feminine energies, being and stillness and nurture and holding and um, and being able to drop into emotion with the child is something that a mother in their feminine energy would be able to do. So it sounds like someone with Aries moons never had the representation of that and was never able to receive that. So therefore, he or she never learned how to do that for themselves. And so it makes sense that they would then have these struggles around emotion. And so what's really important here, I think, for the type of person that you're talking about is the work that I do, which is like somatic release. And I'll talk more about what that means. And so if an Aries moon is feeling emotion, what you're saying is that what he or she is probably most prone to do is to do something to like either avoid it or to like let it out, maybe through something that feels better for them. And so really what they're doing is they're not paying close attention to the actual emotion. And there's detriments to that because when we don't give our emotions our time, our focus, our attention, our non-judgment, our nurture, they get suppressed and they get shoved down in different places of our body. And when we distract, yes, maybe some of that energy is coming out, but we're still not paying attention to the emotion. And so what happens is that those emotions tend to come out later in ways that we wouldn't really want them to come out, ways that hurt other people, ways that hurt ourselves. And so I think someone with this kind of energy that you're talking about could really benefit from creating a practice for themselves of moving that emotion through them, either verbally or physically or both. So what I mean by that is something like this. Let's say that you're an Aries moon and this applies to you and you feel really frustrated, because this is another thing. When we have a parent that has a really strong will, one of two things can happen. We can grow a really strong will and start butting heads, like you said, or our will gets completely thwarted. And so, what happens when our will gets thwarted or shut down is that we have really strong feelings of frustration a lot of times in our life. And so, let's use the emotion of frustration. So, let's say someone with an Aries moon is feeling highly frustrated. What they might do is go for a run or do something to distract the frustration, or maybe the frustration comes out at somebody else. Like they're doing something with it, but not in a productive way. So, what I would say is that for a practice for this, it's about owning that you feel frustrated and finding a way to let that frustration out while you're still in the frustration. So that's like, okay, what do I feel right now? I feel really frustrated. Okay, how does that frustration sound if I let it out of my mouth? Right? Or how does it sound? And really taking that energy and moving it through while focusing on the emotion. Or if my body wanted to move as this frustrated part, what would that look like? Would it look like pounding on the ground with my fist on a pillow? Would that look like, so there's all these different options, but you just want to make sure you're holding the emotion and moving that through instead of it coming out in another way or distracting yourself with the doing. And this is interesting because it is a doing, right? You're doing by letting out the feeling by sound or physical movement, but you're also being. You're also in the feminine, and that's what's missing. You're being with the emotion. You giving it space to be expressed is the nurture. That's the nurture that it wants. Because if you think of our emotions like little kids, it's like little kids, no matter what's going on with them, they just want our love and our attention and non-judgment. And that's what all of our emotions want. And that's how we bring ourselves back into more of a feminine energy. And it sounds like that would be really helpful for people with this Aries moon.
Yeah, that is so helpful. And I think that problem solving nature is very helpful for these people. Like they are natural problem solvers to do. But when it comes to emotions, that can be a little bit tricky because emotions aren't problems to solve necessarily. I mean, they can be indicators of problems in your life, which is really beneficial to be able to then do something about it. So it's like a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's really great. But on the other hand, it's like you said, if you're not feeling them, it can also lead to like to just this desire to get rid of it or to solve it and not accept that that's a part of you, that that's supposed to be felt, and like be in it and move through it, like you said. So that's really helpful. And I love that you also mentioned this frustration because Aries is a fire sign. And what that means is that there can be a little bit of this like natural kind of heat or hot, like hot headedness that can come. Of course, this depends on the rest of your chart. A lot of these things will be really mitigated by the rest of your chart. So if you're like mostly water and you're like a Pisces, maybe that wouldn't be as much, but there's going to be some nature to you that can be get a little bit frustrated more easily, or to be a little bit more brash or blunt, or almost impulsive in your decision making, like wanting results now, feeling a lot of emotions very intensely. So that's can be very useful when you harness your passions and do things that are moving you forward in terms of like your career. And I often see a lot of business owners have this because they feel really good when they're in a leadership position and can make decisions from their passions, rather than being told what to do and in a box. So a lot of this like fiery nature can be really beneficial, but then at the same time, it can also be difficult, especially when it comes to like sustaining things long term. Again, this will really depend on the rest of your chart. If you have a lot of earth, this won't be as much of an issue. But if you have a lot of fire, it can be difficult to stick to like one path and really see things through. Or it can be difficult to have the patience to go through everything in life step by step. So what do you do with people to work on this sense of like urgency that an Aries moon might feel?
It's interesting because it comes back to feminine energetics again, right? So it's like there's a fear or there's a discomfort at least with being. And so if we're looking at the impulsivity or the lack of finishing a project or taking on all these things at once or whatever it is that the person does, it's like there is an aversion to just being in something. And it sounds like there's a little bit of a lack of trust that if I don't take action right now and do this and do that, things won't come to me. And so if I have a client that has this type of energy, we work a lot on their bringing their feminine energetic more online because they're more in their masculine. And so when we work on that, it's all about leaning back and moving into a place of more surrender and trust. We have to work on building trust in the universe, God, and yourself, whatever it is that you want to refer to that resonates. And so that's a hard thing to do when you've moved through your life and when you've gotten results from the impulsivity, because they have. And so it's not that we want to take away your drive. That's amazing. And this fire and this passion and this forward movement is so important, but we've got to find some kind of like, I don't even want to say balance because I don't think it's necessary to balance the feminine and masculine, but it's necessary to know what both feel like in your body so you can pull at each one when you need them. And so, yeah, it would be working on the feminine energetics. And what's amazing is that when we get to that place of embodying that feminine energy that I'm talking about, it's like so relieving because in that feminine energetic, we are a lot more magnetic than in our doingness. And so things just start like coming to us. We don't even have to put in this much effort. And that sounds scary and kind of like boring because it's not instant gratification, but it ends up being so magical and so beautiful. And so the payoff is big, but it takes a while to see that in the feminine energetic. Sometimes it depends how much you're allowing yourself to be magnetic in that.
Wow, I love that so much. Yeah, I feel like receptivity is a really big part of this. yeah, I think being very self-reliant, and instinctual, they're able to create a lot of things based off of like their gut feeling, and like they've done this before and they know that they can do this again. But then that also creates this feeling of being insular or being alone. And not the same way as like a moon in Aquarius where you feel different and isolated, but in the sense of like what I was saying about self-reliance, like, oh, I can solve this problem on my own. I can go after this on my own. And that has multiple ways that that kind of shows. So it's like, in one way, it's not trusting the universe and not stepping into the feminine, that you will still be kind of taken care of, even if you don't do it all yourself and take care of everything. And then the other part of this is like, trying to process your emotions, trying to move through all these difficult situations without relying on other people, without turning to lean on other people, without sharing these really intimate emotional moments and the vulnerability with others. There can be this desire to kind of take care of it all yourself and not burden other people with your stuff. And I feel like that's one of the biggest lessons an Aries moon has to learn, is that you don't have to tackle your inner world on your own. It seems like you would, right? But that's really not like what the goal is. It doesn't make it any better to take care of it on your own. So I'm sure that you've seen this with clients. Have you had that come up?
Yeah, and there are so many different places where this can come from. Like if we're talking about like childhood wounds and things that cause us to um act in certain ways and have certain patterns and behaviors. So we could go into so many different reasons as to why this happens. But the first thing that's coming to mind is that someone with the energy you're talking about might hold a belief of like other people are what's the word, incapable, or uh, something like incapable, something around that, because they were taught from such a young age to do it on your own, do it, be good at it, succeed. Like that's kind of the energy, and they are really good at it. And so they're gonna incompetent is the word I was looking for. They might look at other people as incompetent. So there might be this fear of letting other people in because it won't get done as well as they do it or as fast as they do it. And like they have this fire that really allows for them to do things. But the shadow side of that is that they get burnt out, they feel alone, they're frustrated because no one's there to help them. You know, there's all these negative things that come from that too. And that's really why we're having this conversation, is how can life feel a little bit better if this is you? So the first thing that came up was that incapability of other people, but also a lack of trust in other people. If we don't trust the universe and we don't trust God and we don't really trust the unfolding of things, we don't really trust other people either. And so it sounds like there's really got to be this healing around trust and like allowing other people to help, even if it's not the way that you would do it. And the word that's coming to mind is just like interdependent. You know, I think these people sound like they're very independent. It sounds like the mom was very independent and kind of like passed that energy on. And so recognizing the importance of interdependence, that we're all here with our own strengths to work together, and we don't have to do it alone. And it actually gets to be more exciting, more fun, safer, and more nurturing when we do things with other people. Of course, we want to be discerning about the people we do these things with, but there are many competent people who are able to do the things with you that you desire to do. So it's a coming back to our human nature of interdependence, and not just diving into this like independent culture that's been created, because that causes a lot of internal suffering.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there could be kind of limiting beliefs around relying on others or needing others as weakness. And I guess I could see that from the point of view of like growing up as a child. If that message was maybe shown to you or inadvertently kind of drilled into your head, it can be really easy to go there. Like, for example, I know someone with an Aries moon, and I know that he moved around a lot. So he was like constantly changing schools, constantly having to meet new people, and having to start over again and again. The only thing that's really like constant in your life is yourself. And so it can create this, again, like overly independent self that is um, maybe a little bit scared to open up to people or attached to people because it feels like there's some lack of safety there. Um, yeah. Do you want to say something?
I'm like, there's a really important point here, just really quick, is that this is what's coming up. And if mom was this doer, go, go, fire, it never felt like there was like a safe place to like be contained by somebody, because she was always on the move. There wasn't this like sturdy, steady energy.
Mm,
And so that being held by somebody or being taken care of or slowing down feels really unsafe because you never had it.
mm-hmm.
Right. So it's kind of like retraining the system to kind of be held by someone else, or allow yourself to just like be contained by someone else's helping,
Yes.
someone else slowing down with you.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And it's like the moon can also represent how we feel nurtured. So if that's like how your mother was, if she was action oriented, then you might feel nurtured or like you're nurturing yourself when you're in that. But I think it's also sort of against human nature to, you might feel nurtured in that way, but that's not like the most robust sense of fulfillment as a human. I think we need those kind of both scenarios. I feel like that's a lot of what I wanted to say. I guess I kind of just wanted to end by reiterating just how special an Aries moon is, because obviously we're going into the challenges because this video is meant to help you guys. But there is a lot of specialness with the Aries moon. Like these are the people who aren't afraid to take the initiative to start something new that other people are scared to do or that other people wouldn't even consider. They just have a really strong guidance system about what feels right in their body, what feels right to them. They are, like I said before, they're very instinctual. They're ruled by the planet Mars. So they're not afraid to hold boundaries. They're not afraid to say no. They're not afraid to cut things away or to stand up for what's right. They're not afraid to go after things. They have this kind of confidence and that strong inner sense of self that allows them to be successful business owners, to be successful at things that other people would feel like is dangerous or is just like a really big, like lofty kind of intimidating goal. Like these people don't even shudder at that thought. They have the kind of willpower and that bravery that allows them to tackle these really big things. So I just wanted to kind of recognize like how amazing that is. I guess there is one other thing I wanted to say though, because we were talking about this sense of independence and kind of going off the fact that they are ruled by Mars. There's a really important point to make about Mars in astrology, that Mars is a planet of division. And so I think one of the things that I would warn against is, I hate to use this word because it's not really what I want to say, but is almost like this selfishness of Martian energy, where it's like, I really want this thing. I really am able to go after it with all of my passion, with all of my emotion and intensity. But that also means that if other people have like different goals or desires or something, it's not Mars doesn't compromise. Like Mars is like, I will conquer, I will take what I want, I will do what I want. I am the leader, I'm the warrior. And that's really beautiful in a lot of ways to achieve these big goals, but it can also kind of hinder relationships. It can hinder that sense of like compatibility and compromise. And so it can be difficult to meet people where they are. Like this Aries moon person, really nice person, but I'd be like, oh, hey, do you want to do this? And he would just be like, no, I don't really want to do that. And like, I would do the things that maybe were outside my comfort zone that I wouldn't normally want to do just on my own. But because I have a lot of Libra energy and I want to create a relationship and do the things that other person wants to do, like that becomes a priority to me. And it's not so much about like the activity, but more about the bonding. Well, an Aries moon person might not always see it that way. They might just say like, do I want to do this activity? Yes or no. And they would say no. And it's like disregarding the other person, disregarding the relationship. And it's not always like that intense, but there is that nature of Mars to divide or to split or to like put itself first. That is something to consider.
Yeah, I would love to comment on that. It's really interesting. So, as you know, and for your audience, one of my mentors, one of my biggest teachers is named Dr. Sam Rader. She's amazing. And basically, she's come up with like a whole new modality. She's a psychologist, and she's come up with a whole new modality of healing emotions, something that's really fitting for this paradigm that we're in now that kind of bridges psychology and spirituality together. It's really beautiful. And so I work with her modalities and I'm trained by her. And without going into the whole thing, there is this way of being that people embody that is detrimental to themselves and to society. And it's what you're talking about. It's when we're too independent that we hurt people in the process. And this is where like the need for interdependence comes in, is where, yes, it's important to have that fire and that drive, but a lot of people that are kind of operating this way do it at the expense of others, because it's like, it's my will and my will is so big and that's all that matters here. And it's not really to hurt other people, but they do hurt other people in the process. And so bringing it back to interdependence means considering how your actions affect people, the environment around you. What is the negative effect of you using your will? And then feeling into, do I actually want to affect the world that way? Because a lot of times it's like, not that they want to be bad to the earth or bad to people, it's just they don't think about the effect that using their will has. And what's interesting is why I bring up Sam is because where this comes from in childhood is having a parent that kind of like overindulges your will. So in Sam's work, she calls this wound the indulged wound. And when we have this indulged wound, which it sounds like you're saying maybe someone with the Aries moon might have too, it's about considering the consequences of your actions before you take the impulsive choices, or any choices for that matter.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that is so helpful. But yeah, I definitely want to reiterate that like Aries moon is awesome. We're gonna be doing this for all of the moons. We kind of want to go. I mean, for me as an astrologer, this sounds kind of bad, but I do like to really point out the areas where we can work and grow, because that is the most beneficial. Like, of course, I'm going to tell you what your gifts are. And as an Aries moon, you have so many gifts, especially of leadership, which is just such an amazing quality and so necessary in our society. But then as a leader, it's also really important to know how your followers are feeling and how your actions are affecting them. And it's just going to make everyone a better person overall. So thank you so much, Maya. If people want to contact you or want to work with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so the best way to contact me is Maya, Maya, Nicole, Nicole, healing @gmail.com. Or my Instagram, you can just message me, is I am, no A in there, just I am Maya Nicole. I'm Maya Nicole.
Awesome.
And you can message me there. Yeah.
Also, if you guys like this kind of thing, Maya and I actually work together. It's not officially on my website, but it is something that we've done in the past and are continuing to offer. And basically what we do is we'll take clients on in a more intimate way. So we'll do multiple sessions and I will look at their chart, and then Maya will also take them through some healing, especially like somatic healing exercises and like therapy and basically everything that she does. That's amazing. And it's really powerful because you can see a lot in your chart, especially around your childhood and what you're meant to work through in this lifetime, maybe where you have some hiccups. You're probably all already aware of it, but it adds a little bit of depth to your existing understanding about why that might be or how you can overcome that. And Maya specifically helps you overcome it in the session. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can always hit me up at contact@willisbloom.com, or you can reach out to Maya at mayanicolehealing@gmail.com, or on our Instagram, which I'm never on my Instagram, but you can hit me up there and I will see it eventually. Or on my website, willisbloom.com. So yeah, that's something that you're interested in. I hope to see you guys there. And thank you guys so much for staying tuned. Bye.
Thank you.